So in this video, I provide 3 exhibits to show you that the grouping of African tribes using linguistics does not translate to genetic relationships between the tribes. The general understanding is that when we say Bantu, for example, we mean that all tribes that are Bantus are related, and then the tribes that are Nilotic, there is no way they are going to be related to the tribes that are Bantus. That's basically the idea, and that the tribes that are Cushitic, then they are not genetically related to the tribes that are Nilotic, for example. That's the general understanding. That's how most of us take it when we are told, oh, those are Bantus, those are Cushites, and those are Nilotic, and whatever other groupings there are. But I'm going to show you that that is not actually true. And I saw somebody in the comment section say that in the previous video that I uploaded, saying that, for example, the Rendiles and the Somalis are related, and the reason he says that is that the clans among the Rendiles are the same as the clans among the Somalis. That could be the case. I'm not arguing against that, but I just want to prove that it's also possible for a tribe that is categorized as Nilotic has clans that are in a tribe that is categorized as Bantu. And that's what I'm going to do. So Exhibit 1 is the relationship between the Kipsigis in the South Rift and the Kisis in Nyanza. Now, the Kisis are grouped as a Bantu group, or are put in the Bantu group with Kikuyus and Luyas and such other tribes, while the Kipsigis are considered to be, of course, they are part of the larger Kalenjin group, and then they are, of course, part of the Nilotic group. But here is a very interesting thing when you try to examine the Kipsigis, their history, and that of the Kisis. Of course, they are neighbors. But then there is something else that you find out. You find out that there are clans, very many clans among the Kipsigis that are also among the Kisis. And the clans like Babasig, the Kipsigis call them Babasig, the Kisis call them Ababasi. Clans like Motoborig, Kipsigis say Motoborig, the Kisis say Abatobori. Bagisero, Kisis call them Abagisero, the Kipsigis call them Bagisero. So these are clans that are found among the Kisis, and they're also found among the Kipsigis. Now, that becomes a little bit perplexing, because the Kipsigis are supposed to be Nilotes, and the Kisis are supposed to be Bantus. But that ceases being a perplexing issue when you realize that it's just this Bantu and Nilote is just a language classification, and doesn't have a lot to do, or has little to do with the genetics of the people. The people are just using a language, but who they are in terms of their genetic makeup could be something totally different. So that's my Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2 is the Suba tribe. Now, the Suba tribe is in Nyanza, and the Suba, nobody disagrees that Suba are, they used to speak a Bantu language. Now, this is how we need to be very careful with how we use these words. Is Bantu speakers, not Bantu people. But people tend to say, oh, those are Bantus. So we should say those are people who speak a Bantu language. Those are people who speak an Nilotic language. It's just the language, not the people. Now, nobody disagrees that at some point the Suba tribe used to speak a language that is Bantu. Everybody agrees. And also almost everybody agrees that the Suba today, at least those in Kenya, they don't no longer speak the Bantu language that much. I don't think the younger generation, especially among the Suba people, speak the Bantu language. It's a language that has disappeared amongst those people, and they speak Luo, an Nilotic language. Now, we can't think that trend is one that happened, and there are not many others that have happened like that. This is something that has happened throughout history, that some tribes will move and then they stay with other tribes and they take their language, and they forget their language. The Suba people are kind of like forgetting their language, but they still live together as a tribe. And even in the politics now, you see them trying to come out and try to push the agenda that is going to help them as a people. but they no longer speak the Bantu language that they used to speak. So what does that tell you? People can abandon a language and get another one. So that then tells us that people using language to think that now language is related to genetics is very wrong. Now, Exhibit 3 is the Okiek people. Now, Okiek, this is a tribe, and many people believe that they are among the tribes that have been around the longest, that before these other tribes came to East Africa, Kenya, the Okiek were already here. Now, the Okiek were like any other tribe. They had their own language, but the language has basically disappeared. The Okiek who became part of Kikuyu, and you can never even tell who was Okiek and who was not among the Kikuyu. They basically became Kikuyus. Some of them went with the Kalenjin, the Kipsigis, for example. Now, when you look from outside, you might never tell who is Okiek and who is not among the Kipsigis, for example. But if you go and you stay with the tribes, the people on the ground, slowly you'll start noticing, or slowly you'll be told, oh, that family, they are Okiek, and that family is Okiek. And but they speak Kipsigis, Kalenjin, like everybody else in the villages, but the people themselves can tell you, oh, that family, they are Okiek, that family, they are Okiek. But these people don't speak their language. The language they used to speak disappeared. They speak Kalenjin or Kipsigis language. Now, on the other side, when you come to the Maasai land, the Okiek are there also. And in the Maasai land, they are called Ndorobo, which is kind of derogatory. Some people get offended by the use of that word to describe them. But that's what the Maasai mostly call them. Now, among the Maasai is very interesting. It's different from how they are treated among the Kipsigis, because among the Kipsigis, the Okiek are kind of like, while they have not completely become part of the Kipsigis fabric, they are very close to disappearing into that tribe, such that they intermarry and everything, and it's kind of like they are no longer existing as a distinct group of people. But among the Maasai, they speak the Maasai language. They have also forgotten their language for the most part, especially the younger ones. Maybe you might find very old Okiek who speak their language, but those are kind of like disappearing now. They are dying off because of old age. The younger generation among the Maasai, they speak the Maasai language. Now, among the Maasai, they live as a separate group to a large extent. They are also getting assimilated, but it's not as close as among the Kipsigis. Among the Maasai, the Okiek are kind of like a separate tribe within the tribe. Like, even though they don't live on the same piece of land, you'll go, that house is for Okiek, and that Manyata is for Okiek, and the other one is the Maasai. But they are still treated as a separate group of people, even though they speak the Maasai language. So imagine this, if we were not living in the modern era. It's so easy for these people to come together as a group and be like, oh, we don't like how we are being treated among the Maasai. Let's move to a new part of land where we can have our own land. Now they move and they speak Maasai. They no longer speak their original language. Now, later on, some linguists comes along, or anthropologists, or whatever they are called, and they categorize them. And I don't want to say that the anthropologists or the linguists did anything wrong when they came to Africa, because I think some people took my ideas to mean that I think they did something. No, they did not. For them, they were putting languages into groups. For them, their focus was the language. But how that grouping has been used later on is where the problem is. Most of us have come to think that grouping means the genetics of the people, while that's not even the original people, the people who came to Africa and put this group into Bantu language, Nilote language, Cushite. That was not their goal. I don't think so. I don't think that was their goal. Even when you look at very academic papers that discuss this group, they don't discuss them as peoples, really. They discuss them as language groups. But people have come to associate the language groups with actual people. So, yeah, so those are my three exhibits that it is very wrong for us to think that these Bantu, Cushites, Nilote, Semites, and whatever grouping are out there, that they translate to genetic makeup. They don't at all. As I've shown that we will have a group like Kisii and Kalenjin, or Kisii and Kipsigis, to be specific. Kipsigis are Nilotes, Kisis are Bantus, if you are going by how people have come to see these groups. But then you have these clans among the Kipsigis that are also among the Kisis. And if you ask the Kipsigis, if you have a friend who comes from Bomet or Kericho, just ask them what is their relationship with the Kisis, and they will tell you. They tell you those are our uncles, Gamama, that's what they call them. And you are likely to find a Kipsigis who will be like, yeah, my ancestors come from Kisii. And so that's one. Number two, try to investigate about the Suba, and I don't think it will be very hard for you to get some info about the Suba. And also number three, try to learn more about the Okiek people, and then those three will kind of like will show us what has happened. And remember, now we live in a world where people are more settled, but you can imagine what used to happen when people used to move around a lot. Those are my random thoughts.